Did you know that over 55% of US households are podcast fans? And a significant portion of these are educational podcasts. In the digital age, podcasts have emerged as a powerful tool, carving out a unique space in the realm of education. They have risen from a niche medium to a mainstream platform, offering a wealth of knowledge at our fingertips, or rather earbuds. Educational podcasts are particularly noteworthy. They offer flexibility, enabling learners to absorb information at their own pace, in their own time. They are accessible from anywhere, at any time, breaking down geographical and temporal barriers to education. Moreover, they cater to a variety of learning styles, from auditory to kinesthetic, making learning a personalized experience. From history and science to literature and languages, educational podcasts cover an expansive range of topics. They make learning engaging, interactive, and fun, transforming the traditional classroom into a global learning community. Podcasts have indeed revolutionized the way we learn, making education accessible and enjoyable. But who are the people behind these educational podcasts? Let's meet some of the student creators. You might imagine that these podcasts are produced by seasoned educators or industry professionals, but many times, it's students just like you and me who are the driving force behind these educational platforms. They're juggling classes, assignments, and extracurriculars, yet they still find time to share their knowledge with the world. Take, for example, Amelia, a history major who is passionate about making the past accessible and engaging for everyone. She started her podcast, History Unveiled, to shed light on lesser-known historical events and figures. Amelia believes that by sharing these untold stories she can help others see history as not just a series of dates and events, but as a captivating narrative that shapes our present and future. Then there's Jay, a biology student with a knack for making complex concepts digestible. His podcast, Biology Breakdown, explains intricate biological processes in a way that's not only easy to understand, but also fun and interesting. Jay started his podcast to help his peers who were struggling with the subject. He's found that explaining these concepts to others has deepened his own understanding, and the feedback he's received has been overwhelmingly positive. And let's not forget about Fatima, a sociology student who uses her podcast's social structures to explore societal issues and their impact on individuals and communities. Fatima sees her podcast as a platform to foster dialogue and inspire change. Her episodes have sparked conversations on campus and beyond, proving that student voices can have a powerful impact. These are just a few examples of the students who are using their voices to contribute to the educational landscape. They're not only expanding their own knowledge but also enriching the learning experiences of others. They've found that the process of creating a podcast can be just as informative and enlightening as listening to one. These students prove that anyone can be a creator, and that sometimes, the best way to learn is to teach. Now, from the creators we turn to the listeners. What makes educational podcasts so appealing to students? Imagine being able to dive deep into complex topics right from the comfort of your own home, or while you're on the move. That's the beauty of educational podcasts. Not only do they provide a platform for learners to explore subjects they're passionate about, but they also offer an avenue for students to learn at their own pace. Let's hear from some students who have found great value in these auditory learning tools. First up, we have Sarah, a biology major who shares, "I struggled with understanding certain concepts in class, but listening to podcasts on the same topics later gave me a fresh perspective. The casual tone and real-life examples make the content more relatable and easier to grasp." Next, we have Josh, a history buff who says, "Podcasts make history come alive for me. The narratives are so compelling that I often find myself immersed in the stories, forgetting that I'm actually learning something." And then there's Emily, a mathematics student who found solace in podcasts. She shares, "I used to dread math, but podcasts have changed that. They break down complex problems into simple, manageable steps. I can pause, rewind, and re-listen until I fully understand the concept. It's like having a personal tutor, available anytime, anywhere." Lastly, we hear from Mike, an English literature student who tells us, "Podcasts have exposed me to a diverse range of authors and literary styles. It's like having a book club in my pocket, a community of fellow enthusiasts sharing insights and interpretations. Indeed, from complex scientific theories to historical narratives, from intricate math problems to literary critiques, educational podcasts cater to a spectrum of interests and learning styles. They offer flexibility, allowing students to learn and revise at their convenience. They bridge the gap between formal education and self-paced learning, making education more accessible and enjoyable. Clearly, the listeners find great value in these educational podcasts, making learning more engaging and digestible. Creating a podcast may seem daunting, but our student creators assure us it's simpler than you might think. The first step in creating an educational podcast is choosing a topic. This could be anything from the history of the French Revolution to the intricacies of quantum physics. The key is to choose something you're passionate about. As one student creator puts it, if you love what you're talking about, your listeners will too. Once the topic is chosen, the next step is research. This is where your curiosity takes the reins. You delve into books, online articles, interviews, and documentaries to gather as much information as you can. It's a bit like being a detective, piecing together a complex puzzle. The more you learn, the more you can share with your audience. Now, with your research in hand, it's time to start scripting. This is where you distill your findings into a compelling narrative. You're not just relaying facts, you're telling a story. You're creating a journey for your listeners to embark on. Scripting may take some time and several drafts, but remember, Rome wasn't built in a day. Then comes the recording. This is where you breathe life into your script. It's just you, the microphone, and your story. Don't worry about making mistakes, those can be ironed out later. Just focus on conveying your passion and knowledge to your listeners. After recording, it's time for editing. This is where you cut out any mistakes, add music or sound effects, and ensure that the audio quality is top-notch. Editing can be a meticulous process, but it's worth it. As one student creator puts it, the editing process is where magic happens. It's where your podcast goes from good to great. The final step is to publish your podcast. This can be done on various platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SoundCloud. Once it's out there, you can share it with your friends, family, and the world. And that's it. From choosing a topic to publishing, that's the process of creating an educational podcast. It may seem like a lot, but remember, every journey begins with a single step. As one student creator says, creating a podcast is like climbing a mountain. It's a challenge, but once you reach the top, the view is incredible. With passion and dedication, these students are able to create valuable educational content, proving that podcast creation is indeed within reach. So, what does this mean for the future of education? Well, let's take a moment to ponder this. As we've seen, educational podcasts have been steadily gaining traction, and their impact is far-reaching. They're not just an alternative way to consume content. They're a revolution that's changing the face of education as we know it. Imagine a world where education is no longer confined to the four walls of a classroom. With the rise of educational podcasts, this is becoming our reality. These audio lessons are supplementing traditional education in remarkable ways. They provide an additional layer of learning, one that can be tailored to individual needs and preferences. Whether it's a deep dive into a complex scientific concept or a simple refresher on a historical event, podcasts are providing students with a rich and diverse learning experience. But that's not all. Podcasts are also a boon for self-learners. With a wealth of knowledge just a click away, anyone can learn about anything, anytime, anywhere. The flexibility of podcasts means that learning is no longer restricted by time or place. Whether you're on a train, in a park, or even in the comfort of your own bed, you can immerse yourself in a world of knowledge. This ease of access is making education more inclusive and accessible to all. Perhaps the most exciting aspect of educational podcasts is their potential to democratize education. Education is a fundamental right, but unfortunately it's not always evenly distributed. However, podcasts are helping to level the playing field. They're not bound by geographical boundaries or socioeconomic status. All you need is a device and an internet connection, and a plethora of educational content is at your fingertips. So, are educational podcasts a passing fad? Far from it. They're a transformative tool that's breaking down barriers and making education more engaging, accessible, and inclusive. They're empowering learners to take control of their education, to learn at their own pace, in their own time, and in their own way. As we've seen, educational podcasts are not just a trend, but a powerful tool that is reshaping the landscape of education.